storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was now full. He was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. They wakened him and said unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are ye so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? They feared exceedingly and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and sea obey him? Thank you so much. I want to talk about moving from teaching to testing. Moving from teaching to testing. Thank you so much. I have confessed this before and I'll share it again. There were two things in my early years that I didn't like at all. One was school. The other was church. I had a serious problem with both of them. My church life came because as a young boy, at the time being the oldest at home, the church we attended was about 2 miles, 2.5 miles from home. But we had to walk to get there. And Daddy would insist that I would walk with Mama. He said to keep the snakes off of her. As a young fella, I was in church one Sunday, sitting next to a plus-size lady. And she got excited and started to shout. The pews at that church, the Mount Sinai AME church where I grew up, they were not bolted to the floor like pews are now. But when she read back, she flipped the pew. And the pew I was sitting on was now sitting on me. Had problems with church. I had to go because they forced me to go. I was the same way about school because I was very slow in my learning, simply because my sisters and brothers were so smart. They were like little geniuses, all of them. I couldn't get it. I tried, I couldn't, and so I became smart while dumb. I learned how to avoid stuff. I knew that in class each day that my teacher was going to one day start students reading from the front right to the back of the class. That day I would always sit at the back because I knew that by the time he got to me, class was over. The next day I knew, I had studied the teacher, I knew he was going to start at the back and have them read one behind the other till he got to the front. By the time he got to me, class was over. It was only after I had to learn God messed up by calling me to preach. And everything that I had ignored when I was young, I had to do then. God has a way of moving you from teaching to testing. Mark is the writer, the pensman of this particular text. I'm always intrigued whenever I read the book of Mark because I compare what he did to what my English professor said. My English professor, Mrs. Orr, said it is improper to begin in a chapter with Anne. So that's improper to do. But when I read Mark's gospel, 12 out of his 16 chapters began with the conjunction and. I wondered if my teacher was right or if Mark was right. It's difficult when you have been taught stuff to get what you have been taught untaught to be retaught. You see, and is a connected in conjunction. It connects what has just happened to what's getting ready to happen. Mark had moved beyond Mrs. Orr and said, I want to tell you about the life of Jesus. And whenever you listen to his teaching, the teaching of Jesus, you will discover that his teaching connects. What he did yesterday connect to what he will do today and tomorrow. Mark's life says that Jesus' life was a connecting life. He continued to teach. Strange because Mark, being the pensman he was, he did not write to the same people that Matthew, Luke, or John wrote to. Matthew wrote to the Jews, Mark to the Romans, Luke to the Greek, but John to all believers. In his writing, in his penmanship, Mark wrote to prove that Jesus was a suffering servant. In order to be a suffering servant, Mark carried us through the categories of some of the things that Jesus dealt with. One of the first things he dealt with in Mark's gospel was the demonic world. It's strange that it is taught we need to know something about the devil. Because if we don't know nothing about him, we will convince ourselves that he does not exist. And when you convince yourself that the devil does not exist, you open a door for him to launch his attack on you. He moved from dealing with teaching us about demons to teach us about diseases. Because many times, if you don't understand a disease, you will become diseased. And before long, you will be taken out by a serious disease. He taught us about the demonic world. He taught us about disease. But he also taught us about death. Because if you notice in Mark chapter 5, it was a little girl that came to, it was a little girl's daddy, Jairus, came to Jesus and said, Master, my daughter is at the point of death. Now, mind you, it was Mark that says she's at the point. Luke says she's dying. Matthew says she's already dead. But he taught us lessons. Now he is teaching us how to deal or move from teaching to testing. The stranger is kept. Mark opened by saying, in the book of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel is the word, which means that he taught us the word. Romans 10:17 says, faith come by hearing. Hearing come through by the word of God. Jesus was laying down a foundation for them and for us that if you're going to make it through testing time, you will have to have some faith. And to have faith, you must hear the word. Show me a person that have faith. I'll show you a person that's been taught the word. Show me a person that don't have faith. I'll show you a person that don't have the word. Because faith come by hearing. Hearing come through by the word of God. Mind you also that some people don't have to encounter what others encounter, but when God spots you and see that he's going to use you for a greater work, he will put you through a greater test. You ever seen people ain't been through nothing? Hadn't had to encounter much of nothing? They won't encounter much because God didn't prepare them to go through what you got to go through. He knew these disciples were going to be apostles, that they were going to be people that was going to they were going to blaze the trail to teach others how to walk by faith. He have these disciples. He taught them. Mark open in this particular pericope dealing with him, first of all, having an encounter with Pharisees. You see, if you don't encounter enemies, if you don't encounter opposition, you won't know how to handle tragedy. Am I making sense to y'all? You got to go through some things in order to deal with some things. You see, I can run a touchdown every time I get on the football field if I don't have opposition. If nobody's out there to tackle me, I'm a bad fella in the field. But when I got to go through 11 big men with broad shoulders talking, it's harder to get that. You see, God fixes it so you have to encounter some things in order to handle some things. Jesus is preparing to teach and to test his disciples. He had been teaching, had an encounter with the Pharisees. But then he moved from the Pharisees to the family, because the mother of Jesus and the brothers of Jesus came and interrupted him in a teaching setting. They didn't even come in the church. You always look for your family if nobody else is with you. You look for your family to be there. Talk to me, somebody. If don't nobody else go nowhere with you, you look for your family to be by your side. You look for, talk to me, somebody, the people that's got your own blood in them to be with you. Jesus was teaching. His family came. So that man that's teaching in there, tell him his mother and his brothers are outside. They want to see him. They were trying to do what they knew to do. They wanted to protect him. Same time, they thought he was a little off, because Jesus was claiming to be Son of God. They didn't want to get him killed, so they wanted to put him away privately. Jesus stopped in the midst of his teaching. Said, who is my mother? Who are my brothers? He said, they are the ones that do the will of my Father. Can I inject this right here just for a moment? Your spiritual family, in many instances, they're closer to you than your biological family. When you're born again, you move into a new family. They don't understand you. They can't see you from being nothing but that's their blood kid. But they don't know you got another blood in you now. You'll have a witness in this house. The brothers came to get him out. He encountered, then he spent the rest of the day teaching them the word. And when evening was come, he said unto them, let us pass over unto the other side. Remember that statement. Let us pass over unto the other side. Let me say it 3 times, so if you don't remember nothing else I've said, you remember, let us, Jesus extended the invitation, let us pass over unto the other side. I think sometimes people misunderstand us that's born again and wonder why we will show up at church at 7 in the morning. We have received an invitation to go over to the other side. On this side, there's agony. But on the other side, there is the Almighty. On this side is battle and bruises. But on the other side, there's blessings bountifully. On this side, there's cursing. But on the other side, there's a crown. On this side, you see the devil and devilishment. But on the other side, there is divine. On this side, there is evil. On the other side, there is eternal. On this side, there is fussing and fury. But on the other side, there's favor. On this side, there's grief. But on the other side, there's glory. On this side, there's hell. And on the other side, there's hallelujah. Have I got any help in this house? On this side, there's jail. On the other side, as a jewel. I know I'm putting y'all to sleep. On this side, y'all hear me, don't you? There is killing. But on the other side, that's a King of Kings. We are, Lord, headed to the other side. But like when you get ready to travel, when you're going to go somewhere, there must be preparation. Before they could leave, Jesus said, you got something to do. Send away the multitudes. Watch the multitude. Here's what Jesus was saying. Eliminate and dismiss the skeptics. Because you can't go far with skeptics. You can't go far with folk talking about you can't do it. You can't go that far with folks who spend the year saying, I wouldn't do that. You can't get too far when you got people always hounding you say, I'd do it another way. Preach, Reverend Ray. You got to eliminate the skeptics. Send the multitude away. And then the Bible says they took him. I could hang there a while, y'all. They took him. See, if you're traveling, maybe you miss putting your shoes in the bag. Maybe you forgot your jewelry. Maybe you forgot the pants to your suit. Maybe you didn't pack your false teeth. But when you get ready to travel, make sure you take him. Ought to have some help in this house. Too many folk traveling without him. I'm going to feel all right here in a moment. You got everything but him. I told you, a friend of mine, Pastor W.M. Fields Jr., I asked him to travel with me from Memphis to Atlanta to take my sister's son back to Atlanta. He was staying with us for a couple of weeks. Pastor Fields agreed to go. We didn't go out through Birmingham. We headed up Nashville way and went around taking our time. Right before we got to Nashville, I said, Fields. He said, yeah. I said, we forgot my nephew. That's who we was going to take. I wonder how many people are traveling to the other side. And you forgot Jesus. The Bible says, Lord, they took him as he was. Meaning, he didn't have time to go home and get his change in clothes. He didn't have time to go tell his mom and dad goodbye. He didn't take time to tell his family, I'm moving to the other side. They took him as he was. Can I tell you, that's a good thing. That when you on your way to the other side, don't be trying to change Jesus. Don't be trying to get him to accept your mess. You got to take him as he is. I'm preaching better than y'all saying that. He took him as he was. Mark distinctly said, and that was with him other little ships. Got several schools of thoughts about it. Y'all ain't no big hero yet. Several schools of thought about it. You know, growing up in the country, we were so fascinated over each other. Till when friends would come to our house, and after we had entertained most of the day, when they leave, we'd walk piece of the way back home with them. Anybody remember that? I'm not sure, but it could be that these other little ships decided to go piece of the way back with Jesus. Be that as it may, I'm not concerned about the other ships, because then but one ship have Jesus. Be careful what ship you're on. Make sure before you leave the shore that you're on the ship with Jesus. Songwriter said the ship has a good track record. It's Lord, you see, this ship, he said, ain't no danger in the water on this ship. And the track record is it has already landed many thousands. Somebody said, why? Ain't no danger. He said, because Jesus is the captain of the ship. Lord, the Bible said that they took him as he was. Mark goes into details. Said Jesus was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillar. The pillar was really the cushion that the captain sat on while controlling the ship. Lord, Mark distinctly tells us Jesus was asleep to let us know he was human. You see, sometimes we say, the little stuff I'm going through, the Lord don't understand. But Mark said he do, because he was human. You know, sometimes you say, I'm so tired. Mark said Jesus understand that, because Jesus would get tired. But you see, you might get tired on the journey, but you don't ever get tired of the journey. Anybody here ever got tired? All the stuff you go through ain't one thing, it's something else. Ain't one situation, it's another situation. Sometimes you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Jesus said, I understand. He said, I understand where you're going. I understand what you're dealing with. I know you get tired. But what Jesus was doing, he was getting ready to teach them a lesson in the storm. Because the Bible said, and behold, there arose a great storm of wind. Galilean lake was 13 miles long, 8 miles wide, 150 feet deep. It sit kind of like in a bay area. Mountains was all around. And sometime when the cold air from the mountains would come down over the lake, the hot air from the lake would rise up toward the mountain. There would be a collision. And they call it a storm. Talk to me, somebody. The thing about storms then, you couldn't pinpoint when they were coming. There was no siren to tell you storm is coming. They would come sudden. Preach Reverend Ray. In other words, you could leave, Lord, going to the other side, and things would be calm. But before you could get into the mist, you'd be in a storm. Strangest thing about this storm is storms in Galilee would normally occur in the day, but they were sailing at night. Y'all don't hear me in this house. And the storm showed up at night. Can I tell you, you don't ever know when a storm is coming. Just one phone call, and you're in a storm. Just one visit to your doctor, and you're in a storm. Have I got any help in this house? Yeah, one night's sleep, you can go to bed, calm, healthy. The next morning, you're fighting for your life. Storms will come. Ever got any help in here? Let me ask you, is there anybody here ever been in a storm? Well, two or three things, and I'll let you go for this service. Number one, whenever a storm show up, remember, God know about it. You see, he knew the storm was coming before they left the other side. Think about it. Jesus know the storm is coming. Jesus know the disciples is on board. But Jesus, knowing all he know, he said, let me show you how to handle it. He go to sleep. Y'all don't hear me. You see, we doing it all wrong. When we run into a storm, we press in the flow. We walking from one side to the other. Just like that's going to change things. The Lord said, stop wasting your time. That when a storm come, do what I do. Go lay down somewhere and get your good night's rest. Have I got a witness here? Because your worrying won't stop the storm. Do I have a witness here? Waking other folk up, not going to calm the storm. He goes to sleep. That's number one. Number two, it looked like Jesus was saying, you've been listening to my teaching. If you really been listening, you would have some faith. Have I got a witness here? That means you can have folk all around you hearing the word, but still don't hear it. Yeah, and what I discovered, and I'm out of here. One thing you got to learn is